Yes, I remember the day. When you got the letter that you drafted, I forgot that we got a letter, or I got a letter from President Roosevelt. And he said that, if I remember right, you are being drafted to save the country, he said. And he went on a little bit more, and at the end, he told me, thank you and God bless you. And he signed down there Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
And I wound up in Texas, a little town called Mineral Wells. It was in Fort Worth. And it was called the IRTC, Infantry Replacement Training Center, the largest one in the country. And they trained guys who didn't know anything. It took about 20 weeks. In 20 weeks, you were trained how to shoot, how to shoot a rifle, grenade launchers, mortars, machine guns, everything. You were trained to be a part of a combat unit if and when you were needed later on.
Because I had grown up, so, when you're in the military, taking orders and learning, I think the military was a great place for me to be because of the great discipline it did, being a young teenager, living on your own and everything, making your own.
First Christmas away from home in the Army, it was on the ship. It was going to Korea, and I remember we went by the way of the Aleutian Islands. It was really cold, and I was outside the ship looking in, and some of the indigenous personnel, probably I guess officers and civilians, were on the same ship, and they were having Christmas, and there was a Santa Claus, and here we were all freezing to death outside, looking through the portals, like orphans, and it could have been in the Christmas tale, a Christmas story. That was the first and second Christmas I was there in Korea, and about the third one, then I was home. I got home.
And one time, Tyrone Power was on the base, and as we marched across the base, we saw him and we turned and looked at him. That's a no-no. So we marched for some extra time to make up the fact that we didn't keep order.
On the submarine, we had 103 people, including officers, 9 officers. I was on the sub that was called a thick skin, because we could dive to 600 feet. You made friends aboard the sub, you made enemies, you made people who, I shouldn't make, you had people who were against whatever you had as far as religion and such. I was the only Jewish person aboard the sub, and there were I won't say there were a couple of very anti-Semitic sailors aboard.
We got on the train there in Chicago. We went down as far as Washington, D.C. And this is something I never will forget. We had to change trains there because during that time, you had to be in a separate coach from the white. So we had to go in the terminal there and wait for that train to come. So I had to go to the restroom, and I was over, they put me over about 15 other recruits, And I told the guy, well, I got to go to the restroom. So they said, okay, we going. So we went around the corner, and the restrooms was there, and all of a sudden I happened to look up, and there above the door was colored on it. Next there was white on it. Next to the restroom, the drinking fountain colored on it. Over here, white on it. And that really hit me. That was Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. And we were in uniform. So we're going to fight for the United States. I wasn't going to just fight for my family, we were going to fight for the United States. And they had something up there like that. It took me a long time to get over that, you know. I was 18 years old.
We were bombed by the Japanese bombers. We were in a war zone on Okinawa, Alan.
We fired some torpedoes, but we don't know whether they were ours or sister subs that hit the lieutenant on the scope. Saw many Japanese sailors jumping into the ocean, which he told us about. He was very upset about it, but that it was wartime, so we went from there.
And then in July, it was July the 14th, 1944, was my birthday. I turned 19. I remember that day. I was in a foxhole. And it was raining. I was by myself, and I thought, wow, this is, you know, what a place to be. Very lonely. And the next day, we were online, and Moose and I were together, and I was his assistant, and he was on duty overlooking this hedgerow about maybe 500 feet out with the Germans. You could hear him talking out there. We knew they were there. His job was to watch them, and we had one squad on line to be as outposts to watch for any attack that might occur. Well, it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was getting ready to relieve Moose. He had been watching all the time. And he said something to the sergeant. He said, "Sarge, I see something out there." And he said, "Well, be careful, you know." Well, somehow this sniper out there was watching him too. And then at the right time, he shot him. He shot him through the eye. And when he fell back, he died. So Moose is somebody I'd write about later on. I mean, he was my mentor. And instead of him taking care of me, I carried him back.
But it was the 2nd Armored Division.
Okay.
Yes. The Big Red One, but I forgot the details because when I came back, I went on back to GM and I never did kind of think about it because that war was kind of disliked, and the more you didn't think about it, the better off you were.
I was in New Orleans the day the war was over, and oh, that was one experience I'll never forget. New Orleans is a real wide street. There's about 8 lanes wide. Pretty soon, sidewalks started to fill up. It was in the daytime, and the sidewalks started to fill up. Canal Street is the main street of New Orleans, and the people just were solid people, a mess people. The boys and girls were all kissing one another, and their faces were all red with lipstick, you know. I didn't want to slap around on them. I didn't kiss any of them, but I enjoyed that, being there anyway.
What you got to realize that there was a time in history when bad things happened. You should know about it, you should read about it, understand it, and appreciate it. And realize that whatever they did then is for you today. Whatever life you have is what we did at that time to change the world. Had we not done that, and had the world stayed the way it was, it would be a very different world today.